Imagine waking up one morning. You reach for your phone. Your life savings, enough yesterday to buy a house, can now barely buy a loaf of bread. You check your monthly salary. By the time it reaches your account, it is already worthless. People are carrying cash in wheelbarrows, not wallets. This is not science fiction. This is hyperinflation. Money is supposed to be stable, something you can count on. But history tells a different story. The worst hyperinflations didn't just destroy bank accounts, they destroyed governments, families, entire societies. They spread through nations like financial wildfires, exposing how fragile our systems really are. Today, you will see 5 real economies, 5 countries where money literally collapsed into ash, and what it cost the people who trusted it. Remember, inflation is rarely loud at first. It creeps, it whispers, and by the time most people notice, it's too late to run. Let's start in Germany, 1923, the Weimar Republic. After World War I, Germany faced crushing debt. The Treaty of Versailles demanded over 132 billion gold marks in reparations, a sum so enormous it would have taken generations to repay. What did the government do? They printed money, millions, billions, trillions of marks. At first, it seemed manageable. Then prices doubled, tripled, exploded. By November 2023, the German mark was worthless. A loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. People burned cash to keep warm. Children built forts from bundles of worthless bills. Families watched lifetimes of savings vanish in weeks. And yet, the deeper damage wasn't just economic, it was trust. Once a society loses faith in its currency, everything else collapses. Commerce, contracts, salaries, pensions. This collapse helped pave the way for social chaos. Extremism thrived. Desperation became fertile soil. Just a decade later, Adolf Hitler seized power, a rise rooted partly in the trauma of economic collapse. Fast forward to Zimbabwe, early 2000s. Under President Robert Mugabe, land seizures shattered agriculture. The economy teetered. The government responded with the familiar solution: printing more money. By 2008, inflation reached 79.6 billion%. Prices doubled every 24 hours. Banknotes carried astronomical numbers: 10 million, 100 billion, even 100 trillion Zimbabwean dollars. Eventually, citizens abandoned local currency, relying on US dollars and South African rand. The cost? Entire industries collapsed. Pensions evaporated. Families fled. Hyperinflation created a generation of economic refugees. Only those with real wealth, land, skills, tangible assets, networks, and internal resilience survived. The paper money was gone, but productive capacity endured. Now, Hungary, often called the worst hyperinflation in history. Post-World War II, the nation lay in ruins. To cover debts and reconstruction, the government issued the pengo, printing at insane rates. At the peak, prices doubled every 15 hours. The inflation rate hit 41.9 quadrillion%. That's 4 followed by 16 zeros. Currency notes multiplied into millions, billions, trillions, until even the government gave up. They abandoned the pengo entirely and started over with the forint. The middle class vanished. Savings went to zero. Government legitimacy evaporated. Hyperinflation didn't just reset the economy, it erased history. Oil-rich, resource-rich, yet politically fractured. Venezuela. Years of corruption, price controls, and reckless monetary policy turned one of the region's wealthiest countries into a cautionary tale. The government printed money to cover deficits, subsidize programs, and maintain control. By 2018, inflation surpassed 1,000,000%. Imagine receiving your paycheck and needing to spend it the same day before it loses half its value. Supermarkets emptied, barter returned. Doctors and engineers fled, working abroad as delivery drivers. The government kept issuing bills with more zeros, until finally slashing 6 zeros overnight. Yet the damage remained. Hyperinflation shredded healthcare, gutted industries, and forced millions to migrate. Again, physical assets, skills, and access to foreign currency saved lives. Paper money did not. Finally, Yugoslavia. After the breakup of the Soviet bloc, war and sanctions collapsed the economy. By 1993, inflation hit 313 million% per month. Prices doubled every 1.4 days. New currencies were introduced repeatedly, each wiping out savings. Citizens relied on US dollars or German marks to survive. The official currency? Worthless, useful only to light cigarettes or wallpaper abandoned shops. A familiar pattern emerges: crisis, printing, trust evaporates, currency collapses, society fractures. You might think this is history. We're smarter now. We've learned. But consider this. Global debt levels are at record highs. The U.S. alone holds over $34 trillion in national debt. Central banks have spent the past decade printing trillions, suppressing interest rates, and stimulating markets. It seemed to work. Inflation stayed tame. Growth continued, until it didn't. In 2021 to 2022, prices began climbing rapidly. Supply shocks, wars, energy spikes, and freshly printed money caught up. Central banks panicked, hiking rates aggressively. Rent, food, and daily expenses began outpacing wages. Ordinary people felt the squeeze first. What can you control? Your exposure, your savings, your habits, your mindset. Lesson 1. Real wealth is not paper. Land, skills, tangible assets, useful networks, internal resilience, these endure. Lesson 2. Trust is everything. Currency collapses not because the ink fades, but because belief does. Once people lose faith in money, the system crumbles. Lesson 3. Inflation punishes the unprepared. It moves fast, compounds, and hits those living paycheck to paycheck hardest. Financial education isn't just about growing wealth, it's about protecting it. Reduce unnecessary debt, diversify assets, learn a skill, build a resilient life. The difference today? Scale. Never has the global economy been so interconnected, so debt-driven, so dependent on central bank intervention. If trust breaks now, it won't just be one country, it could be systemic. And that's where you come in. You can't control central banks, but you can control your resilience, your mindset, your preparation. History doesn't repeat, but it crushes the unaware. Hyperinflation isn't random. It's caused by war, bad policy, denial, arrogance, and the seductive lie that money can be created without consequence. Now you know the pattern. The next time someone says that could never happen here, you'll know exactly how to respond. History is the teacher. Preparation is the lesson. Real wealth, trust, and awareness, these are your shield.
Imagine, again, waking up to find your life savings, enough yesterday to buy a house, can now barely buy a loaf of bread. Your monthly salary loses value before it even reaches your hands. People carry cash in wheelbarrows, not wallets. This is not fiction. This is hyperinflation, a phenomenon that has destroyed families, governments, and entire societies more than once in history. The lesson from Germany, 1923, is clear. After World War I, the Weimar Republic faced crushing debt. The government printed money to pay reparations, and within months, the currency became worthless. Bread cost billions. People burned cash for warmth. Trust in money and in the system itself collapsed. Zimbabwe in the 2000s showed a modern example. Land seizures, economic isolation, and endless printing pushed inflation to 79.6 billion%. Families lost everything. Pensions vanished. Only those with tangible assets, land, skills, foreign currency survived. Hungary, 1946, reached the worst hyperinflation in recorded history. Prices doubled every 15 hours. The middle class was annihilated. Savings accounts went to zero. A nation's economy and its memory was erased. Venezuela showed that how resource-rich nations are not immune. Decades of corruption, price controls, and reckless monetary policy led to inflation exceeding 1,000,000%. Supermarkets emptied, doctors and engineers fled, and barter returned. Physical assets and skills preserved lives. Paper money did not. Yugoslavia, 1990s, revealed the same pattern under war and sanctions. Inflation reached 313 million% per month. Citizens abandoned the official currency, relying on dollars or German marks. Trust in money, the most fragile element, collapsed. History repeats a pattern. Crisis, printing, trust erodes, currency collapses, society fractures. Different decades, different countries, same mistakes. And today? The global economy carries record debt. Central banks have printed trillions over the past decade. Inflation remained low for a while, but signs are emerging. Rising prices, supply shocks, and rapid changes in interest rates. The system is interconnected. If trust breaks now, it won't be a single nation. It could be systemic. So, what can you control? Your mindset, your habits, your exposure. 3 key lessons emerge. Real wealth is not paper. It is land, skills, tangible assets, networks, and resilience. Those who hold real wealth survive crises. Trust is everything. Currency fails not because of ink, but because belief disappears. Once trust is gone, it is almost impossible to rebuild. Inflation punishes the unprepared. It moves fast, compounds, and hits those living paycheck to paycheck the hardest. Financial education is not just about growth, it is about protection. Diversify assets, reduce unnecessary debt, build skills, and create resilience that cannot be destroyed by the collapse of paper money. Hyperinflation is not random. It is caused by war, bad policy, denial, and the false belief that money can be created without consequences. Now that you see the pattern, you know how to respond when someone says, "That could never happen here." History does not repeat, but for those who ignore its lessons, it will crush them.